30 minutes to have a little break and stretch legs and stuff before we do the 24-minute guided meditation. Okay, so welcome everyone here. It's so nice to see you for our first class of the new year. Welcome everyone at home. And I had planned for this evening, we'll start with a sort of grounding exercise. These, I change these up. Sometimes they're little meditations. Sometimes they're just exercises for improving or exercising our ability to attend to or pay attention to our experience. And there are lots of different ways that we can do that. But we're going to have a little grounding exercise like that, a couple minutes. And then I'm going to play, there's like a 3-minute related to the subject of New Year's resolutions and self-improvement that I'm going to play Pema Chodron and Oprah Winfrey on Super Soul Sunday. It's just like a 3-minute little talk. And then I'll chat with you about this idea of self-improvement and self-change. And then we'll have our guided meditation at the end. Okay. So we're going to start off just getting comfortable, starting to feel our feet touching the ground, noticing the old reliable ground. It's not moving. It's always there for us. It always meets us. And feeling where we make contact with the chair, the pressure points or the contact points with the chair. And with this exercise, feel free to have eyes open or closed, whatever feels most comfortable for you. And you're going to start out by just feeling the sense of yourself inside your body. Just a general sense of being contained by the perimeter of your skin. You're inside there. Body's like a container. And then let your attention shift to noticing your sense of yourself in the room. So contained within a bigger space and also contained within your body. And then let your attention shift to notice or feel the space behind you. You're just letting yourself become aware that there is space behind you and feeling into that. And then let your attention shift to become aware of the center of the room. Let yourself notice and feel the center of this room and where it is relative to you. Okay, and then let your attention shift and notice where the door or the exit is of this room relative to where you sit. And you're noticing as much as possible the felt sense of it. Somewhere inside, you get a sense that the door is in a particular direction, a particular distance from you. And then let your attention shift again and notice there are others in the room. Getting the felt sense of sharing this space with other beings in the room. And finally, coming back and noticing yourself and how your feet make contact with the ground, how your body makes contact with the chair, feeling yourself inside your skin. And then just let your attention rest. And you can open your eyes whenever you're ready. So this exercise uses some of the skills that we use in meditation. You can make a meditation out of just letting your attention wander and notice whatever it wants to notice. Feeling of your body, feeling of yourself in the room, sounds, any sensations, smells. And we'll do a little bit of that as the body scan for the beginning of our guided meditation this evening. But there's something that shifts our relationship from when we have this guide asking us to pay attention to the feeling of being in the room or being in our chair, shifts us out of thought, right? And it's really handy for us to know that we can do that. We have the power to shift ourselves out of thought. Has anyone ever been in a spiral of negative thought and didn't want to be in it? Right? We can instantaneously shift ourselves out of thought by going to sensation. One of the easiest ways to do that, and one of the most powerful tools I teach my clients, I'm a psychotherapist, is when we've got a powerful sensation, especially a negative one or a negative emotion, we can ask, where do I feel this less in my body? And generally feet are going to be a place where there's not a whole lot going on, right? The turbulence is usually somewhere around here. But then if we can notice, oh, wow, feet aren't moving, there's ground there. Instantaneously connecting ourselves to ground and the feeling of ground, and that our feet are a safe place, right? It's not, the uncomfortable feeling isn't happening everywhere. There's actually a place in our body that feels safe. It can be very, very grounding. And I encourage, so now you've got a $120 tool there that you can take with you and use at your leisure. It's one of the most powerful tools that I teach people how to do. Instantaneously getting ground. Okay, we can use any body sensation to shift ourselves out of thought. And it's tricky. The relationship between emotion and thought it's all sticky. It's like this web of stuff, and trying to go with one or the other or to extract ourselves from both, it can be very messy, right? Hard to do. Something often feels attractive about being in that messiness, but we can give ourselves a little bit of a break and just say, where do I feel this less in this moment? Okay. So it's the beginning of the year. I mean, we're not too bad. We're not the end of the second week yet. And I have been at the gym just kind of really irritated because it's filled with all these people who made New Year's resolutions and bought memberships and don't want to waste their money, don't want to be there, but they're there. And I mean, you can kind of tell because the way that they're moving through their workout, like you can tell who's year long and who's only there for like, this is a new thing. And I wanted to talk with you all about the source of the motivation for those kinds of changes. Because very often our self-improvement efforts come from a place that is not sustainable because it comes from a place of self-violence. And that's a term that's used in Buddhism and non-dual spirituality, Buddhist psychology, that describes a sort of fundamental relationship with self that is about rejecting self or rejecting some part of self. So I don't like this part of me that's like love handles or not enough muscles or not in shape enough or like some aspect of ourself we don't like. So we're going to change it or we're going to get rid of some aspect of ourselves. And that is fundamentally not sustainable because we can't really run from ourselves. We can run for a little while, like, and it's kind of a joke I talk with my clients about. Up until we hit 40 or 50s, right? We can kind of stay ahead of it. We can kind of outrun ourselves. But then the unsustainability starts to catch up with us. We can't run forever from ourselves, whatever that means. Whatever's unresolved, whatever we don't like about ourselves, whatever our shadow side is, whatever our past is, whatever our traumas are, we can't outrun them forever. We can do a pretty good job of hiding from them for the first 3 or 4 or 5, sometimes 6 decades. But after that, things start to break down in a hurry. They break down in the form of health problems. Because we can't, if you think about it, we can't be fundamentally rejecting ourselves and feeling good about ourselves at the same time, right? Maintaining health, vitality. If we're saying, ooh, there are these certain parts, I want to cut that one off and get rid of it, or all these things about ourselves that we don't care for. So if we don't come at change from that perspective or that angle, what can change come from that would be sustainable or healthy? You know, when I talk with my clients about loving themselves or being more self-compassionate, and they're like, you want me to like that and that and that, right? No way. It doesn't seem possible. Like, how do we come to peace or how do we come to terms with those parts of ourselves that we dislike so much? If we dig, we can often, and not very much digging at all, we can often uncover the root of whatever the self-violence is or the lack of self-compassion is, right? Something our mother or father used to pick on us about, or something a teacher or somebody in school or siblings, or even societal messages about what's okay, what it's okay to be like. Those things we carry, and they impact how we view ourselves, how we relate to ourselves if we don't fit into certain boxes, right? And without even realizing it, we can have developed habits of self-violence, right? Trying to get rid of or run from parts of ourselves that we don't care for. So in the line of work that I'm in, I know, and from my own path, my own journey, I'm very acutely aware of the way in which running away from those things is not helpful. And in fact, those things, the things that cause us the most pain, are actually our doorways to success, our doorways to greater happiness, to realizing that relationship with our true selves that is one of peace and friendliness, right? Not trying to get rid of, right? It's impossible. We can't like cut off part of our body and like, right? We can't cut off any part of ourselves, even the parts that aren't visible, as much as we would like to. So coming to a different kind of relationship has in part to do with looking under the lid and saying, where does that stuff come from? Meditation is a great way to start to see through our patterns of thought, our patterns of behavior, to make us more aware of where's all that stuff coming from, how much of it is mine, how much of it doesn't even belong to me. We can carry family histories of stuff, right? Doesn't even belong to us. The Native Americans and there are other cultures that have, it's even cited in the Bible, the sins of the father visited on the generations that come next. I think in Native American culture, they talk about pain being carried on for like 5 or 6 generations beyond the original source. And science has now started to verify that it's in our genes. We can actually transfer trauma to our children through genetic material. There are Holocaust survivors' children who never saw it, never had anything to do with that. We're not in Germany or in Europe or in any way experienced that, and they have memories as though they were there. And there are lots of other examples where they've tested and scientifically verified. And they have verified so far as many as 4 generations, but they think it's likely that it visits 6 or 7. So we can be carrying shit that isn't even ours, right? So isn't it a good idea to know that? To know what's ours and what isn't? So we don't have to suffer needlessly or beat ourselves up needlessly, right? And in the little talk I'm going to play a clip of here, they take this idea even one step further. This idea that we are actually just fine as we are. And that might be a really giant leap initially for some of us. But I'd like you to see if you can just have a feeling of a little bit of openness right here in the heart area and see if any part of it resonates or even piques your curiosity about the possibility that you might be fine exactly as you are. Okay. There's a favorite, I can never remember the teacher it's attributed to, but there's a favorite quote of a teacher who often addresses his audiences. I think he's a Tibetan Buddhist teacher. Says, "You're all fine exactly as you are, and you could all use a little work." Right? So can we hold those two at the same time? They're both true. We're fine exactly as we are. If we examine and dig deep and find out what is our true nature, I'm not a body, I'm not a thought, I'm not an emotion. There's something bigger than that in here. I am that thing that animates this human form. It can't be touched, can't be destroyed, can't be described. I can't show it to you. I just know it's looking out of my eyes and looking back at me from your eyes. Right? It's undescribable. It's formless. But it happens to reside in all these forms we recognize as each other. Each day, we wake up, we look in the mirror, and there we are. And there are others that we recognize and call by a certain name. Right? And if we know that that is what we really are, what argument can we have with the form that perfection happens to take in this moment. Okay. So I'm going to play this little recording. It's only about 3 minutes.
I love what you say in A Guide to Compassionate Living.
You might not be able to see.
We already have everything we need. Ooh, that is such a powerful line. That's such a powerful line. We already have everything we need.
I really believe that.
Yeah. But you say we have everything we need. There is no need for self-improvement. I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. All these trips that we lay on ourselves, the heavy-duty fearing that we're bad and hoping that we're good, the identities that we so dearly cling to, the rage, the jealousy, and the addictions of all kinds, never touch our basic wealth. I love that. They are like clouds that temporarily block the sun, but all the time our warmth and brilliance are right here. This is who we really are. We are one blink of an eye away from being fully awake. That is some brilliant writing, Sister.
It does, again, sounds pretty good to me. Where is that from?
That is from...
Yeah, maybe I can learn something from these books.
That is from your book, Start Where You Are, A Guide to Compassionate Living, and it's actually page 3. But what do you mean that we don't need self-improvement? Now that's the only thing I thought. Don't need self-improvement. I understand fundamentally what you're saying, that who you really are,
Right,
is already just fine, because
right.
you are that which comes from the source of all things. But the idea of constantly trying to get better, even fail better, is something that I think.
So, like, you call that self-improvement?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm using self-improvement there sort of derogatory.
Yeah. You're meaning the big self.
I'm
Self with a
meaning,
capital S.
I'm really meaning there's something wrong with me, and I have to, the way I look isn't good enough. The way the way I keep my house isn't good enough. I think that's what I'm getting at, is if self-improvement means that I'm going to be different than I am now. So if the view instead is that there's nothing wrong here, I haven't done anything wrong, but there's things that are obstructing me from really fully feeling that, well, then let's just look at those things and know them completely and utterly. Let's know our rage, let's know our fear, let's know our resentment. Do you see what I'm saying?
I got it.
And by knowing it, listening to what you say about yourself and letting some of that negative self-talk go, then the fundamental thing is there. It's like the sun is always shining, but there's clouds that are obstructing it. So
that's why I love that moment in the plane when, if it's raining, if it's pouring rain on the ground, and you get in the airplane and you shoot up above the clouds, and there is the sun.
that's right.
It's always there.
I know.
Always
I love it too. It never went anywhere, actually.
It never went anywhere.
So that is a classic image for basic wholeness, or basic worthiness, or basic goodness,
Okay. So short and to the point, I think. And if this is an idea that's new to you, then there may be some questions, right? How does that work? If there's really nothing wrong with me, I'm really okay just as I am. Because the mind can come up with lots of buts and what ifs. And those are things that we periodically, as this class continues, we talk about, and we have talked about, and will continue to talk about those things that the mind objects to about this idea. and we won't be able to go deeper into that discussion today. But I wanted to see if, only if you're interested. I'm going to give you a minute. I'm going to time it. And have you imagine, and I'll tell you when to start if you want to engage in this exercise. Imagine, just see if you can imagine what that might be like. What would it be like, or what would it feel like if you knew, like down in here, in the pit of your gut, you knew that you were basically okay, no matter what, no matter how much you screw up, no matter what you look like, no matter what kind of a good or bad day you have, whether you're employed or not, whether you yell at your kids, or you slept really crappy, or you ate junk all day long. What if you still knew deep down that you were just fine? There was nothing wrong with you. Okay? So go ahead and start right now and see if you can sense into, in the body, the felt sense. What would that be like? What would that feel like? What might it be like to move through life always knowing that you are basically okay and nothing is wrong with you? Okay, stop. All right. So, anybody have any want to share? Like,
there would be no reason for me to be stressed about anything.
right,
Because
right,
everything's fine.
right,
No stress.
right. Yeah, sounds pretty nice.
Well, I'm thinking, where do you find the motivation to like clean your place?
Right, right. That's what the mind comes in and says, oh, but yeah, how's anything going to get done? Right? That question is so revealing because it shows what a basic lack of trust we have in ourselves. Right? This fundamental assumption that if given the chance, we'll sit around and eat bonbons all day long. Right? That there isn't something in us that automatically would want to move toward service or being functional or having a house that's clean enough to live in, right? Or wanting to take care of our bodies or be healthy, right? Or be kind to each other, right? This assumption, right? And where did that come from? That's a good thing for us to contemplate. Where did we get the idea that given the chance, right? If we think we're okay, it's all going to hell in a handbasket, baby, because, right, nobody's there to watch and make sure and crack that whip, right? But it's a really good idea to investigate the truth of that. In my experience, my own journey, and what I watch my clients go through is that the more they can move toward this comfort with their authentic self and this idea that they're okay, this energy blooms that wants to move naturally, organically toward life. You won't catch them sitting around or hiding in bed or just goofing off, doing nothing. There's this energy that automatically wants to move toward life, and it can be trusted. I still, it amazes me. Like, wow, it's moving and I'm not cracking a whip. I'm not forcing myself to do anything. And it just keeps moving toward greater and greater authenticity and expression and expansion and service. Right? It's just there. Right? And the only way I tell people that come to this class, do not believe a word I say. You go find out for yourself. Right? You investigate this for yourself. Right? Can you still move toward life or do things that are healthy or productive or kind without the internal taskmaster? Right? Is it possible? So you check this out for yourself. And if something gets in the way, like if in fact when we are given the chance, if we do absolutely nothing, then that means there's something else there. There's something to look at. There's something that isn't really your true self that's expressing in that moment, right? There's something to look deeper at. Okay. Any questions or anyone else want to share what it was like to imagine that for 1 minute before we take a break?
I thought being confident with that, no matter what I had said out loud or suggested or created, if nobody else liked it, it wouldn't crush me
Yeah.
because that would be just their opinion, their thought on it. That wouldn't be a personal fault of mine.
Yeah. It wouldn't be personal.
Right.
Yeah. We wouldn't have to take life so personal if we knew that we were okay. Right? Shit happens.
Right.
Not everybody's going to like everybody or everything that they say or do. Right? And am I really perceiving everything accurately? Thank you. Okay. So we're going to take a 5-minute break, stretch your legs, restrooms over here, you can get a drink, and then come back and find a comfortable chair. If the one you're in isn't comfortable enough, please let me know, because you want to be reasonably comfortable in order to meditate. Not
Everybody looked at me.
Yeah. So the trick, if your chair is really comfortable, just don't lean back. That's the key to sleep there. If you lean back too far. Okay. So thank you, everyone. We'll meet back here in 5. All right. So I use this meditation timer. I think a timer is a really good way to help our bodies know, oh, time to do this now. And then at the end, the bell rings and we know we're done. Because some of this is just training the body. Oh, just like when we get in bed, we know, oh, we go to sleep. And then when this bell goes off, we know, oh, it's time to meditate. Okay. So just letting yourself begin to become aware of yourself in the chair again. Noticing your contact points with the chair and feeling the solid ground underfoot. Feel how you're being met by the ground. And let your attention begin to turn to noticing the top of your head. And I forgot to mention, you can do this meditation eyes open or closed, whatever's most comfortable for you. Just noticing any sensations or noticing nothing, whatever's there as you begin this body scan, starting with the top of your head. And your only job throughout this entire meditation is just to notice. There is nothing else you have to do except notice. You can't do this wrong. So you're just noticing the top of your head and any sensations that might be there, such as coolness or warmth or tingling or tension or anything else. And then letting your attention drift down to start noticing your face. And let yourself notice areas of tension. Sometimes the eyes or the jaw are areas we carry tension. And you could imagine letting your eyes sink back in their sockets. And you can experiment with letting your tongue go completely soft or limp in the bottom of your mouth as a way of releasing some tension, and then just see what happens after you do that. And then leaving any remaining sensations or tension right where you found it, there in your face. Let your attention move around to now notice the sides of your head, temples, ears, and whatever might be there, pleasant or unpleasant. Seeing if you can just notice. And if you find any tension there on the sides of the head, or if you're curious, you could experiment with imagining letting your ears drop slightly. And then just see what that's like. What is the experience of that? And then preparing to shift your attention again, leaving any remaining sensations there at the sides of your head, right where you found them. Let your attention move around to notice the back of your head and the back of your neck. And whatever might be there, pleasant or unpleasant, neutral or nothing at all. And these are areas that carry tension but are difficult to voluntarily relax. So if you find some discomfort there, you could make a silent request for some relaxation in the back of the head, back of the neck, and then open. See if you can be open to whatever happens next after you make that request. Letting yourself notice. And then gently preparing to shift your attention again as you leave whatever sensations remain there in the back of your head and neck, right where you found them. Let yourself start to notice your shoulders, starting at your neck, moving from the sides of your neck across the tops of your shoulders, and pausing at the joints of your shoulder. And then scanning the length of your upper arms from shoulder to elbows. Pausing to notice elbow joints. Scanning the length of your forearms from elbow to wrist. Pausing to notice wrists. And then scanning the rest of the length of your arm from your wrist to your fingertips. And then noticing left arm from neck all the way to fingertips. And then noticing or feeling right arm from neck all the way to fingertips. And then see if you can feel both arms at the same time, from neck to fingertips. Being as friendly as you can with whatever sensations are there in your arms right now, whether it's tingling or fatigue or achiness, restlessness, relaxation, or space. Just noticing what seems to be there in this moment without too much attachment to a label or a description. And then gently preparing to shift your attention again, leaving whatever sensations are there in your arms and pulling your attention toward the center of your core, starting to scan from your throat down the front of your body. So noticing the throat area and then down into the heart area, and then diaphragm, or that space between chest and belly. And then noticing belly. And down into your abdomen and your hips where they're supporting you in the chair. And then scanning down the back of your core, noticing your upper back, in the middle of your back, and your lower back, all the way down to hips and bottom, seated in the chair. And noticing, are there any areas of tension? What's your general sense of the space inside the core of your body? We tend to carry a sort of armor of tension across the front of our bodies. And you could imagine letting your throat loosen. See if you can imagine an opening or a softening in the heart area. Can you let your belly go? Let it soften. Let it be however it wants to be. And then just notice the effect of that loosening. If there are some areas of discomfort, you could experiment with imagining breathing in and out from that spot. Whatever that is, whatever the area of discomfort is, as though it's another set of lungs, imagine your breathing is going into and coming out of that area. Air going in and out. And just remembering that your only job is to notice, to be as friendly as you can with whatever you find. And you can let your attention move to something outside of yourself, the candle or something in the room, if there's too much discomfort in the body. Some of us have pain or discomfort. And then finally, preparing to shift your attention again as you leave whatever sensations you noticed in the core of your body, right there where you found them. You leave them right there and begin to scan your legs, starting at the top, or rather where your bottom is seated in the chair, and letting yourself scan the backs of your upper legs and the tops, and then pausing at your knees. And then letting your attention scan down the fronts of your lower legs and down the backs of your lower legs. And noticing when your attention meets the floor in ankles and heels. Pausing there for a moment. And then letting your attention scan the lengths of your feet all the way to the tips of your toes. And all you're doing is noticing what your experience of your legs seems like in this moment. In this moment, not what they usually feel like or felt like a second ago, but right now, and then again right now, and then again in this moment. Whether that's tingling or space or tiredness or some feeling of flow, relaxation or restlessness, coolness or warmth. Just seeing if you can notice whatever seems to be there in this moment, being as friendly as you can. And then preparing to shift your attention, gently letting your attention rise up from your legs and feet to notice the place where breathing seems to be happening. That may be different for everyone. Where does the breath seem to be primarily located? Is it around the face or nose? Cool air coming in, warm air coming out? Or is it around the throat? Feeling the movement of air, cool going down and warm coming up. Or does it seem to be something about the rising and falling of chest or belly? Just noticing for yourself where breathing seems to be emerging from in the body. And pausing for a moment to notice the little space that's there, the pause at the end of your out breath before you begin to take the next breath in. Just noticing. And as you notice breathing without trying to change it in any way, see if you want to, see if you can allow your attention to notice other things happening alongside your breathing. So other things are happening in the present moment, right now. Sounds, smells, taste in your mouth, feeling of the ground underfoot. Patterns on the inside of your eyelids. You might notice the feeling of your clothes, or movement of air across your skin. Seeing if you can allow attention to notice whatever is here in the moment without a problem. Nothing that's happening in this moment is a problem. You're just letting attention notice what's here right now, even if that means thought is moving through, or emotion, or boredom, or sleepiness. Can you be curious? Can you just notice that those things are moving through your experience right now? Letting attention go freely wherever it seems to want to go. And just tracking it, just noticing. Notice how it isn't static. There's an energy about it. It moves, just like life. But you don't have to get caught up in whatever it's noticing. You can notice what attention seems to go to. or seems to want to turn to. And that's all. Your only job, remember, is to notice. And if you like, you can conduct a little experiment. You can introduce this question into your meditation space. You can ask, what happens if I allow everything to be as it is in this moment? What would that be like? So if I wasn't trying to control anything at all in this moment, what would be the experience of that? What if I let go even of the meditator? Let go of the one who's trying to do it right or to meditate well. What if I had no argument with anything happening in the space of the present moment? What would that be like? What's it like to let go of the controller, letting the controller fall into the back seat and noticing that everything is still just fine? It's your own little experiment. Noticing what happens. What's the experience of allowing everything to be as it is in this moment? In this safe space. Not forcing to let go, but just asking this question. What might that be like? Can I imagine what the experience would be? Even a tiny little bit of what it might be like. To give up struggle, give up effort, and as we reach the end of this meditation, just letting yourself have one more minute to notice the space, to notice silence, perhaps even to set an intention to conduct this experiment somewhere outside this room. If a moment presents itself, you might ask, what happens if I allow everything to be as it is in this moment? Savoring the space and just noticing that you didn't really do anything to get to this place. In fact, it was by doing nothing. Nothing except noticing that you got to this place of space, of peace, relaxation. And as you feel ready, beginning to transition, you can send some energy into your arms and legs and offer some gentle movement to fingers and toes. And let yourself have a couple of deeper breaths, taking as much time as you need to transition from this space. It was so nice to be with you all this evening. Thank you for coming. Namaste.
Namaste.